Here we go again. Another explosive book is exposing Biden's doomed bid for a second term. Staffers pushed Biden for an early debate against Trump, thinking it would give him an advantage, according to a leaked campaign memo. Quote, "The earlier you are able to debate, the better, so that the American people can see you standing next to Trump and showing the strength of your leadership compared to Trump's weakness and chaos." Spoiler alert, it did not.
If we finally beat Medicare.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
I mean, Dana, no matter what happened with the strategy and the planning, it fizzled and failed.
Yeah, I mean, that was the night that I usually take notes during a debate. And at 9:12, I put my pen down. I never took another note. I was like, because it's over and he's going to have to drop out. And then I hoped that I was right. Turns out I was. I do think it was all part of the strategy because it was out of desperation. They were really down in the polls. And the worst thing that could ever happen to the Democrats was that Trump could get reelected. And so they basically said, we're going to have to do it. And I also think something that in this new book that's coming out, and we'll have Josh Dawsey on Newsroom tomorrow morning to maybe talk a little bit more about that, is that the family was really involved. But there is a story in the book that says that Hunter Biden watched the debate from home in Los Angeles and then was shocked that his dad was so bad. And guess what his advice was to his dad? Get some sleep. I mean, that's not great advice. And I think that this story continues in addition to all the things that you're seeing on Capitol Hill. With the mindset of the American people, basically the brand of the Biden team is cover up and failed presidency.
And I felt like, Greg, a lot of the revelations weren't new in the way that it wasn't so shocking, but all of this stuff about Obama coming into the White House and being like, this campaign's a mess, clean it up. And no one listened because it seemed like it was about the Civil War with them saying, this guy's just arrogant and therefore not listening to it, instead of saying, how can we actually grow as a party or succeed as a party?
Speaking of not listening, did you mention Kamala in the intro?
It was her intro.
Oh, okay, good. That is funny. The Kamala thing where she said it's about you have to support Trump. I mean, support Biden because it's the survival of our effing democracy.
Yes.
I wasn't listening. I was too busy. My dog comes in at this time. Anyway. It shows you that there is nothing off limits if you believe that you're saving the world. That was the reason for branding Trump an existential risk. But the irony is this claim or delusion that democracy was in peril had them put democracy in peril because we didn't have a real president for 4 years. That memo is so funny because it sounds like it was written for someone with a brain injury. You know, they had to capitalize you to remind Joe that it was about him. And that is really sad. So it says you. But I have a bigger question about the way they framed Trump in this existential calamity that was to occur. How's it going? Like how's Bruce Springsteen, how's your world going? Chuck,
Rosie.
Nancy. Well, Rosie actually moved. At least she put her money where her mouth was, and that's a big mouth. But like, think about Kimmel, Colbert. These are people that said the world was going to end, and they seem to be fine. Going back to your point about Reality Winner, they pushed these delusions that the world was going to end. They're fine. But what about all those people whose brains are filled with all these delusions? Maybe those are the ones that are out in the street freaking out.
Jesse, dealer's choice.
I
all this.
have been on the show almost 10 years. And Greg,
No, you haven't.
You've said a lot of things.
He said almost. Can we fact check that?
Yeah, let me check.
And my phone has never looked like this. What you said about grandfather clocks has blown my phone up. I can't believe what you said, and the audience is just...
It's sexist, too. Why is it grandfather?
Exactly. So Biden needed to do this debate early because he was losing. And they thought he would be like the Biden we saw at the State of the Union where they shot him up with a speedball and he yelled at us until midnight. Or they thought Trump was going to be the COVID debate Trump, where he yelled and sweat and it was just bad. And they thought they had leverage because Trump had said, I'll debate him anytime, anywhere. So they got him to do it on CNN with a muted mic and no audience. And then he walks out and bombs. And a lot of people suspect that the team Biden did this on purpose to Joe and knew he was going to blow up and detonated him with enough time to put in Kamala Harris or whoever and pull the switcheroo before the debates. Now, I don't care, because it doesn't matter. Trump would have smoked Joe or Kamala. Democrats care because the coup was so ugly. And then the Kamala kamikaze was so brutal, it exposed the whole cover up in real time. That's still haunting them.
It is still haunting them, too, because we haven't let up the demand for accountability, Howard. And so the question is, we're Howard. So now we're hauling in,
Howard
and
Ford
by we
Jr.
mean Congress, we are hauling in Biden's physician that covered it up and told us all was well and all the things. And then his attorney says it's unprecedented and alarming that you're hauling him in. But the reality is, what was unprecedented and alarming was propping up a crypt keeper president while the rest of America fell.
So nothing new in the books surprises me. There's nothing new in the book that surprises me. My takeaway from the book, Emily, is I don't necessarily disagree with much that you said, but my takeaway is a little different. It is very hard for a family member or an advisor to say to a president who is in decline that you should not seek a second term. That will be one of the legacies, and that will be one of the things that the family and his senior aides will have to deal with for a very, very long time. Yeah. It's very hard for some around Mr. Biden, whom I like personally and have known a long time, to digest the fact that he's most responsible for us losing to Donald Trump. Now, the debate, I understand the calculation. I give them credit for saying if he comes out early and he has a moment like he did at the State of the Union, this could be different. He did not have a moment like that. But I contend what hurt him as bad were the 2 or 3 follow-up interviews right after the debate, where he seemed less enthusiastic and less energetic. And that's when the call for him to withdraw from so many even escalated. Then Democrats have to step back and say, should we have had a mini primary? Should we have given this to Kamala Harris? She was the vice president, but there were those who wanted a mini primary. And as a result, to Greg's point, all these Democrats had said that the world was going to end and people supported him. Sometimes that happens in campaigns, but there's no doubt Mr. Trump had people saying it at an even bigger and much worse level. Finally, for Mr. Biden, I feel bad for him in so many ways because there are things, some amount of table may not agree, but some things he did that his legacy he should be proud of. He was the first to give Ukraine weapons. He was the first to say after COVID, we should invest in building semiconductor chips and build up our own infrastructure here to produce things that not being reliant on China and Asian countries. And he was the one that, after President Trump got through Operation Warp Speed, got vaccines to people. But you know what? What we're going to remember him for, at least in the short and intermediate term, is that he was not advised by the people who loved him the most not to run for a second term. And that's unfortunate.
Being someone that has had many conversations breaking up with someone, that just kills me. I hate people that can't have a critical conversation. Sit down and say, here's the news, and it's going to be rough, but I'm going to say it.
But
I feel like he had
But
people
you've never
in his ear
dated the
like,
president of the United States, I don't think. So telling the president of the United States is a tough thing. Maybe you did.
They should have just told him he already was in his second term.
Totally. Exactly.
And made him
All
like
right,
a fake Oval Office.
Fake Oval Office.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.